What is the first shred lick that every guitarist should learn? What if I told you that this lick was built from a simple 4-note pattern used by everyone from Slash to Steve Vai, and practicing this pattern every day actually improves multiple shred techniques at once, and you won't need to learn any new scale shapes and you can start using it in your solos immediately? Well, today I'll show you what this pattern is and the first shred lick that every guitarist should learn, how to practice it the right way to build speed and precision without frustration, and how to use this same pattern to play longer shred licks that just sound insane. So what is this 4-note pattern? Well, I call it the classic rock pattern, and it sounds like this. Now you probably already know this minor pentatonic box right here. So in E minor, I'm going to pick on 12 on the high E string, then I'm going to hammer to 15 and pull off again, and then I'm going to upstroke fret 15 on the B string like this. So we have this. Pick, hammer, pull off, upstroke, down, hammer, pull off. But how do we go from something like this to something like this? Well, it's not just the speed. Watch closely as I play the pattern like this versus like this. Can you see the difference? The first time I played it, I used only my first finger and pinky like this. But the second time, I actually used my third finger on the B string, like here. So as a general rule, we want to use more fingers where we can, as it is more efficient. It may seem unimportant, but it makes a huge difference to your speed and especially your endurance when you start to play faster. I am okay with you practicing it both ways though, because sometimes you won't be able to use different fingers. I'm practicing it with just the pinky. But speaking of playing it faster, I will show how to build the speed and precision into this lick and into this pattern. But before I can do that, we need to avoid two bad habits with this, which if you ignore this, it can wreck your progress and make it take 10 times longer to get this lick sounding clean. And the first mistake will make you sound like this. So whenever you're practicing this lick, the first thing is we should never hear any open string noise like this. That's the B string ringing out right underneath. And you should also never hear any of the notes playing over each other like this, because both of those creates note bleed, which is bad. So to fix this, when you're playing the notes on the E string, the fleshy part of your right hand is going to come down and mute the B string. And then when you come down to play that note on the B string, that same finger is going to lean over and mute the E string, so there's no notes coming from the E string. What's the second mistake? Well, the second mistake makes you sound like this. To make this more obvious, this is what we're going for. And this is what we want to avoid. So the second mistake is uneven timing or just playing out of time in general. So we want to make sure that we have a note landing exactly on every metronome click very accurately, and crucially, we want every note to be the same length. And so while we're working on increasing our speed, we'll be paying close attention to our muting and our timing to make sure that we're playing clean and in the pocket. But how do we work on the speed? Well, you'll need to set time aside in your routine to practice this pattern in two main ways. And the first sounds like this. This is called loops, and to do it, you play the pattern continuously and you go relatively slowly and focus on perfect execution. We're aiming to get a lot of reps in and really programming the pattern deeply into our brain and into our hands. You might, for example, put it into your routine to practice this pattern for 1 continuous minute or even 2 continuous minutes. And then for raw speed, we use the second practice approach, which sounds more like this. This is called burst speed practice, and here we're aiming for perfect execution again at a much faster speed, but we're making it much easier by playing the pattern only once or for a limited number of times. And when we're doing bursts, it's essential that your first and last note land exactly on the metronome click. And don't let any of that note bleed or sloppy timing creep back in. Even just this first pattern is all you really need to get started. And in about 90% of classic rock solos, this pattern is just played as a shred lick without changing anything. But how can we make this even more epic? Well, the first way to progress this further is to go back to our minor pentatonic box and play the pattern on different pairs of strings, like this. So here's where we started. But if we go down to the next pair of strings, the B and G string, we have this. And then we go down to the G and D string. Notice that I'm now using these 3 fingers. And that shape's going to be the same as we go down to the D and A string. And then finally, the very bottom, which would be my first, third, and fourth finger, except now it's kind of inverted. So then the whole thing. Now the lick that I played in the intro is more advanced because I use another 4-note pattern to connect those positions together, which sounds like this. And I also use some blue notes, so the shape that I'm using for that is actually looks like this. So that you more advanced guys can steal it, here's the tabs for that lick, and this is what it sounds like played slow. Faster. But I love how flashy licks like this just boil down to just 4 notes. But surely truly insane techniques like sweep picking is only for the pros. Surely something like that couldn't be simplified down into a 3-note pattern that you could learn and immediately start using in your solos today, could it? Well, click this video next to learn awesome sweep picking in 5 minutes.